The massive crystal structure that served as the Galactic Council chambers gleamed under the light of three suns. Inside, representatives from dozens of species gathered around the central platform. Today's discussion would decide the fate of a newly discovered race called humans. Commander Zexthul of the Valorian Empire stood tall, his crystalline body reflecting rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. His people had ruled the eastern, spiral arm for over 2,000 years. Behind him, holographic displays showed crude human spacecraft with metal hulls and primitive chemical engines. "Look at this pathetic technology," Zexthul announced, his voice ringing like wind chimes. "These humans still use combustion to reach orbit. Their weapons are basic projectile launchers. They have no energy shields, no faster-than-light communication, and their largest ships are barely the size of our scout vessels." Admiral Kithra of the Nexari Collective rose from her biomechanical throne. Her body was a perfect fusion of living tissue and advanced machinery, tubes and wires visible beneath translucent skin. The Nexari controlled the Western territories and had never lost a war. "The humans are even more primitive than the Zephyrians were when we conquered them," Kithra said, her voice carrying a mechanical undertone. "Their energy output readings suggest they are still burning fossil fuels for power. They have not even mastered fusion technology properly." The other council members murmured agreement. The bat-like Skrill delegates flapped their wings nervously, while the slug-like Mallory representatives left trails of slime as they shifted in their seats. None of them wanted to oppose the two most powerful empires in the galaxy. Zexthul activated, another hologram showing human colonies scattered across nearby star systems. "The humans have spread to only 7 worlds in the past 50 years. Our expansion fleets could conquer their entire civilization in a matter of days." "The question is not whether we can defeat them," Kithra interjected. "The question is how we divide their territory between our empires." The chamber fell silent. This was what everyone had expected. The Valorians and Nexari had carved up dozens of species over the centuries. The humans would be no different. "I propose the standard arrangement," Zexthul continued. "The Valorian Empire will claim the inner human colonies, including their homeworld. The Nexari Collective may have the outer rim territories." Kithra's mechanical eyes glowed brighter. "Acceptable. Their homeworld appears to have a large population that can be put to useful work in our factories. The outer colonies will provide raw materials for our expansion." The vote was unanimous. 47 species agreed to the partition of human space. None of them had bothered to study human history or culture. They only saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. Far across the galaxy, Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of Defense Station Ares, orbiting the red planet Mars. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm blue eyes that had seen too many battles. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth Defense Command, a simple blue circle representing his homeworld. "Captain, we're picking up massive energy signatures," reported Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from the sensor station. She was young but experienced, having served on 3 different ships before this assignment. 2 separate fleets approaching from different vectors. Murphy walked over to study the readings. The numbers made no sense. Each fleet showed more energy output than Earth's entire power grid. "How many ships?" "Computer estimates at least 50 vessels in each group," Rodriguez replied. "The energy patterns don't match anything in our databases." Communications Officer Pete Collins looked up from his console. He had been monitoring radio frequencies for any sign of alien contact for the past 5 years. "Sir, I'm receiving broadcasts from both fleets. They're transmitting on multiple frequencies in what appears to be a universal translator protocol." "Let's hear it," Murphy ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. 2 different voices spoke in perfect English, though both sounded artificial. The first voice was musical, like crystal bells ringing in harmony. The second had a mechanical quality that reminded Murphy of old computer synthesizers. "Attention, primitive humans," the crystal voice announced. "This is the Valorian Imperial Fleet. Your species has been deemed suitable for integration into our empire. Surrender immediately and you will be treated with mercy." The mechanical voice followed immediately. "Human vessels, this is the Nexari Collective Armada. Your territory has been allocated to our jurisdiction. Submit to our authority and your people will be relocated to appropriate work facilities. Murphy felt his jaw tighten. Both alien groups were talking about humans like livestock to be divided up. He had spent 20 years in Earth's Navy, fighting pirates and rebels in the outer colonies. He knew a threat when he heard one. Collins, get me Admiral Thompson at Earth Command, Murphy ordered. Priority Alpha. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Lisa Thompson in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was a stern woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp green eyes. Behind her, Murphy could see dozens of technicians working at computer stations. Jake, we're tracking both fleets, Thompson said without preamble. Dr. Kevin Wright's team has been analyzing their transmissions. These aliens have divided up our space like we're not even here to fight back. Dr. Wright appeared on screen, next to the Admiral. He was a thin man with wild brown hair and thick glasses, the kind of scientist who forgot to eat when he was working on a problem. Captain, based on their energy signatures and transmission patterns, both alien species possess technology far beyond our current capabilities. However, they seem to have made several assumptions about our defensive capabilities. What kind of assumptions? Murphy asked. Wright adjusted his glasses nervously. They appear to believe that technological superiority guarantees victory. Their transmissions contain detailed scans of our ships and weapons, but no mention of tactical doctrine, training, or human psychology. Admiral Thompson leaned forward. Jake, I'm authorizing Protocol 7. It's time to show these aliens that Earth didn't survive 3 world wars by being polite. Murphy smiled grimly. Protocol 7 was a contingency plan developed after the discovery of ancient ruins on Saturn's moon Titan. The ruins contained warnings about aggressive alien civilizations and detailed information about galactic military doctrine. For the past 30 years, Earth had been quietly preparing for this exact scenario. Understood, Admiral. What are my orders? Make contact with both fleets, Thompson replied. Let them think we're just another primitive species ready to surrender. Buy us time to implement the full protocol. Murphy nodded and turned to his communications officer. Collins, open a channel to both alien fleets. As the transmission activated, Murphy thought about his daughter Katie serving aboard a patrol ship near Jupiter. He thought about his son working in the Mars colonies. These aliens wanted to turn his family into slaves. They were about to learn that humans had very different ideas about surrender. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives. Soon they would discover that the most dangerous species in the galaxy was one that refused to accept defeat. War Commander Veltar of the Valorian Advance Fleet felt nothing but amusement as his ships approached the human colony of New Geneva. His crystalline body hummed with harmonious frequencies as he studied the primitive orbital station defending the Alpha Centauri system. The human structure looked like a metal box with antenna arrays sticking out at random angles. No elegant curves, no energy fields dancing across its surface, no artistic beauty at all. Veltar had conquered 17 different species, and none had been so crude in their construction methods. Scan the station for defensive capabilities. Veltar ordered his sensor operator. Standard metal armor plating, basic chemical rockets for maneuvering, and what appears to be primitive projectile weapons, came the response. Their energy output is barely enough to maintain life support. Inside the human station, Colonel Ryan Brooks watched the alien ships on his tactical display. He was a stocky man with dark skin and intelligent brown eyes. His uniform was wrinkled from spending 3 days straight on the bridge, preparing for this moment. How many ships? Brooks asked his tactical officer. 12 vessels, sir, replied Lieutenant Tony Martinez, a young man whose family had lived on New Geneva since the colony's founding. Lead ship is roughly the size of a battleship, but the energy readings are off the charts. Brooks nodded calmly. He had read every report from Earth Command about first contact protocols. The aliens expected humans to behave like every other species they had encountered. They expected fear, surrender, and begging for mercy. They were about to be disappointed. The alien communication came through clearly, translated by systems the humans didn't understand. Veltar's voice was like music played on crystal instruments. Primitive humans, I am War Commander Veltar of the Valorian Empire. Your species has been judged and found suitable for integration into our civilization. Surrender your weapons and prepare for occupation." Brooks picked up his microphone with steady hands. "This is Colonel Ryan Brooks, commanding officer of New Geneva Defense Station. I have one question for you. Speak quickly, primitive. My patience has limits. Do you know what humans call someone who demands our surrender?" There was a pause. Veltar was clearly puzzled by the question. "What do you call such a being?" Brooks smiled coldly. "Target practice." The alien commander's crystalline body flashed with angry red light. "You dare insult the Valorian Empire? We have conquered worlds before your species learned to use fire. I will demonstrate our power so you understand your situation." Veltar turned to his weapons officer. "Deploy the cruiser Harmony's Edge. Use a level 3 plasma pulse to disable their station's outer hull. Show them what real power looks like." The sleek Valorian cruiser moved forward like a deadly piece of art. Its hull was composed of living crystal that refracted starlight into rainbow patterns. Energy fields danced across its surface as weapons systems charged with power that could crack a moon. On the human station, alarms began sounding. "Incoming energy weapon," reported Lieutenant Dana Phillips from the weapons console. She was a red-haired woman from Earth's Australian colonies, known for her steady hands during combat. "Drills? All personnel to battle stations," Brooks announced over the station's communication system. "This is not a drill. Execute Plan Charlie immediately." The Valorian plasma beam struck the station's outer hull with devastating force. Metal melted and atmosphere vented into space as entire sections lost power. Emergency lights flickered throughout. The command center as gravity generators struggled to maintain stability. Veltar watched with satisfaction as the primitive station appeared to suffer critical damage. "Prepare to receive their surrender transmission," he ordered. But instead of surrender, the damaged station suddenly erupted with hidden weapons. Armored panels that had appeared to be destroyed slid away, revealing railgun batteries that had been concealed inside fake hull breaches. Point defense lasers, disguised as communication arrays, swiveled toward the alien cruiser. "Fire all weapons," Brooks commanded. Tungsten rods accelerated to 10% of light speed slammed into the Valorian cruiser. The alien vessel's energy, shields designed to deflect plasma and laser weapons, offered no protection against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The rods punched through the crystal hull like bullets through glass. Laser arrays carved deep cuts across the alien ship's surface, targeting specific components that Brooks's crew had identified during the past 3 days of sensor analysis. The aliens had not bothered to hide their technology because they never expected primitive humans to understand it. Inside the Valorian cruiser, alarms screamed as systems failed throughout the ship. The beautiful crystal corridors cracked and shattered as kinetic impacts sent shockwaves through the vessel's structure. "Impossible," Veltar whispered, his harmonic voice turning discordant with shock. "How do they possess such weapons while maintaining such primitive appearances?" On the human station, Chief Engineer Tony Martinez coordinated damage control with practiced efficiency. The plasma strike had indeed caused real damage, but only to sections they had secretly evacuated. Hours earlier, the station's vital systems were protected deep inside an armored core. "Weapons Officer Phillips, target their engine section," Brooks ordered. "Let's see how well their pretty ship flies without propulsion." More tungsten rods slammed into the Valorian cruiser's rear section. The ship's elegant crystal engines shattered like dropped wine glasses, leaving the vessel drifting helplessly in space. Meanwhile, in the Kepler system, the Nexari Collective was learning a similar lesson. Commander Neil Jackson had used mining charges disguised as asteroids to destroy 2 Nexari escort ships when they demanded his colony's surrender. The biomechanical aliens, so confident in their technological superiority, found themselves under attack by weapons they had never encountered. Human combat doctrine, developed through centuries of warfare, emphasized adaptability and creative thinking over technological perfection. Back at New Geneva, War Commander Veltar stared at his damaged flagship in disbelief. His crystal body had turned a sickly yellow color as stress hormones flooded his system. In over 200 years of conquest, no primitive species had ever successfully resisted Valorian technology. How is this possible? he demanded from his surviving officers. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. His tactical officer, her crystal body flickering with confused patterns, struggled to answer. War Commander, their weapons appear to be crude kinetic projectiles, but accelerated to speeds we did not think possible with their level of technology. Colonel Brooks opened communication channels again. War Commander Veltar, this is Colonel Brooks. I have another question for you. What? Veltar's voice was barely controlled rage. Do you know what humans call someone who underestimates us? There was silence from the alien fleet. Dead. Brooks answered his own question. Now I suggest you withdraw your ships before we demonstrate what real human creativity looks like. Veltar's remaining ships began pulling back, their commanders shocked into caution. None of them had expected the primitives to fight back, much less fight back successfully. But the real war was just beginning. Word of the human resistance was already spreading through subspace communications to both the Valorian Empire and the Nexari Collective. Soon both species would send their full military might to crush this unexpected rebellion. They still thought they were dealing with primitives who had gotten lucky. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for this war for 30 years, ever since discovering those ancient warnings on Titan. The aliens were about to learn that the most dangerous enemy was not the one with the best technology, but the one willing to fight with whatever weapons they could find. Fleet Admiral Thexnol of the Valorian Empire had never been so insulted in his 300-year military career. His crystalline body pulsed with angry crimson light as he reviewed the battle reports from New Geneva. A primitive species had damaged Valorian warships and forced his advance fleet to retreat. 200 ships, he announced to his fleet commanders gathered in the massive crystal cathedral that served as his flagship's bridge. We will bring our full battle fleet to crush these humans once and for all. Supreme Commander Vorthak of the Nexari Collective felt similar rage flowing through her biomechanical systems. Her living tissue burned with fury, while her machine components calculated the most efficient ways to destroy human civilization. Her fleet of 150 vessels was already approaching Earth's solar system. These primitives have embarrassed both our empires, she transmitted to Thexnol on a secured channel. But they are still just animals with crude weapons. Our combined fleets will turn their worlds into glass. Neither alien commander suspected that their communications were being intercepted by human listening posts, scattered throughout the outer solar system. Dr. Kevin Wright sat in Earth Command's intelligence center, surrounded by computer screens, showing alien fleet movements. They're coming in two separate groups, he reported to Admiral Thompson. The Valorians are approaching from the galactic north, while the Nexari are coming from the galactic west. Both fleets will arrive in Earth space within 6 hours. Admiral Thompson studied the tactical displays with calm concentration. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. How many ships total? 350 confirmed contacts, Wright replied. Each alien vessel appears to have firepower equivalent to our entire Pacific fleet. General Chris Hayes, the grizzled commander of Earth's ground forces, looked up from his own reports. Ma'am, civilian evacuation is complete. All non-essential. Personnel have been moved to the deep shelters. Our people are ready. Thompson nodded and activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Thompson. Execute Protocol 7, Phase 2. It's time to show our visitors what human ingenuity really looks like. Throughout the solar system, human warships that had appeared to be civilian cargo vessels suddenly dropped their disguises. Fake hull plating fell away to reveal hidden weapon arrays and armor plating. Mining ships became missile platforms. Transport vessels transformed into electronic warfare cruisers. Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of the battleship UHS Defiance, watching his crew prepare for battle. His ship looked like an old-fashioned metal box compared to the elegant alien vessels, but appearances could be deceiving. Stealth systems online, reported his navigation officer, Lieutenant Beth Morgan. She was a calm woman from the Jupiter, colonies who had spent years piloting ships through asteroid fields. We're showing up on sensors as space debris. Captain Alex Turner of the UHS Vengeance contacted Murphy on a secure channel. Jake, my ship is in position near Europa. The aliens are going to get a nasty surprise when they enter Jupiter's radiation field. The first phase of the human strategy was already working. Communications Officer Pete Collins had been broadcasting false intelligence reports, suggesting that each alien fleet planned to betray the other after defeating humanity. The two empires had been rivals for centuries, and their alliance was fragile. Valorian fleet is maintaining distance from the Nexari formation, reported Intelligence Officer Sarah Walsh. She was a young xenobiologist who had studied every piece of captured alien technology. Their commanders don't trust each other. Admiral Thompson smiled grimly. Excellent. A divided enemy is a defeated enemy. The alien fleets entered the solar system like conquering gods. The Valorian ships were works of art, their crystal hulls refracting sunlight into magnificent rainbow displays. The Nexari vessels looked like living creatures, their biomechanical forms pulsing with organic rhythms. Fleet Admiral Thexnall opened communication channels to demand human surrender. Primitive humans, you have shown defiance that will not be tolerated. Surrender immediately or we will destroy every human world in this system. Admiral Thompson responded personally from Earth Command. This is Admiral Lisa Thompson of Earth Defense Command. I have a message for both your fleets. Speak. Quickly, Primitive, Thexnall replied. Welcome to our solar system. You're not leaving. The battle began near Jupiter's moons, exactly where the humans wanted it. The massive planet's radiation and magnetic fields interfered with alien sensors, while human forces, trained to operate in such environments, maintained full effectiveness. Captain Murphy's stealth ships emerged from the shadows of Europa and Ganymede like ghosts materializing from the void. His crews had been practicing these maneuvers for years, using Jupiter's moons as training grounds. Nuclear mines deployed, reported Weapons Officer Dana Phillips. She and her team had spent weeks placing the devices in carefully calculated positions throughout the Jovian system. The first explosions caught both alien fleets completely off guard. Nuclear fireballs bloomed between their formations, disrupting their elegant battle lines and causing chaos among their ranks. The aliens had expected a primitive defense, not a sophisticated trap. Captain Frank Davis commanded a squadron of human fighters that looked like simple patrol craft, but carried weapons the aliens had never encountered. His pilots, including experienced veterans like Maya Johnson and Tom Wilson, used tactics that no galactic military academy had ever taught. Remember, these aliens fight by the rules. Davis transmitted to his squadron. We don't. The human fighters swarmed through the alien formations like angry hornets, targeting command and control systems rather than engaging in direct combat. They fired small kinetic penetrators that punched through alien hulls and destroyed critical components. Meanwhile, Specialist Matt Cooper led cyber warfare teams in attacking alien computer networks. The Valorians and Nexari relied heavily on centralized command systems, a weakness that Dr. Wright's intelligence teams had identified months earlier. I'm inside their tactical networks, Cooper reported. Uploading confusion viruses now. False. Orders began appearing on alien command screens. Valorian ships received orders to fire on Nexari vessels. Nexari commanders saw intelligence reports claiming the Valorians were planning to destroy them after defeating humanity. The confusion turned to panic when Fleet Admiral Thexanal and Supreme Commander Vorthak both received what appeared to be secret communications from the other, each claiming to have discovered a plot for betrayal. The Nexari are targeting our flagship, Thexanal announced to his bridge crew. All ships, prepare to defend against treachery. Valorian ships are moving to attack positions, Vorthak declared to her fleet. They plan to eliminate us while we're engaged with the humans. Captain Murphy watched the alien fleets begin turning their weapons on each other with savage satisfaction. Human psychology wins again, he muttered. But the real test was just beginning. Even divided and confused, the alien fleet still possessed overwhelming firepower. The humans would need every advantage their preparation could provide. Captain Linda Carter's ship, disguised as a damaged freighter, drifted toward the Valorian flagship. Her crew, led by Chief Engineer Joe Bennett and Sergeant Katie Ross, prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Boarding parties ready, Ross reported. She was a tough Marine who had served in the asteroid belt conflicts. We're going to show these crystal heads what human Marines can do. The aliens still thought they were fighting primitives. They were about to discover that the most primitive thing about humans was their willingness to do whatever it took to win. The battle raged across Jupiter's moon system, as both alien fleets realized they had walked into a carefully prepared trap. Fleet Admiral Thexanol watched his beautiful crystal ships take damage from weapons that should not have existed, while Supreme Commander Vorthak saw her biomechanical vessels being torn apart by creatures she had dismissed as primitives. Captain Murphy coordinated the human defense from behind Europa's ice-covered surface. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, tracked over 300 enemy contacts while human forces struck from every direction. Valorian command ship is moving to attack the Nexari flagship, Rodriguez reported. They're actually firing. On each other now. Murphy smiled grimly. The false intelligence that Communications Officer Collins had been feeding both alien fleets was working perfectly. Centuries of rivalry between the two empires made them quick to suspect betrayal. "Sir, Captain Carter's boarding mission is beginning their approach," reported Intelligence Officer Sarah Walsh. She had spent weeks studying alien ship designs to find weaknesses that boarding parties could exploit. Captain Linda Carter commanded what appeared to be a damaged human freighter drifting helplessly through the battle zone. Inside the disguised ship, her crew prepared for the most dangerous mission any human had ever attempted. "Remember, these aliens have never faced boarding actions," Carter told her Marines. "They think warfare is about elegant ship-to-ship combat. They're not ready for what we're about to do." Sergeant Katie Ross checked her equipment one final time. She was a compact woman with steel-gray eyes and scars from the asteroid mining wars. Her squad carried weapons designed specifically for fighting in alien environments. "Sonic charges ready," she reported. Dr. Wright's analysis says the crystalline aliens should be vulnerable to specific sound frequencies. Corporal Joe Bennett led the second assault team. He was a big man from the Mars colonies who had learned to fight in low-gravity environments. His squad carried improvised explosives and close combat weapons. "Plasma cutters charged," Bennett confirmed. "We'll go through their hull like it's paper." The damaged freighter drifted closer to the massive Valorian flagship. The alien vessel was over 2 kilometers long, its crystal structure refracting starlight into beautiful patterns. To Valorian eyes, it was a work of art. To human eyes, it was a target. Fleet Admiral Thexanol stood on his bridge, his crystalline body pulsing with anger as he watched Nexari ships firing on his fleet. "The biomechanical scum have revealed their true nature," he declared. "Destroy them all." His attention was focused on the Nexari threat. The primitive human ships seemed to be fleeing in all directions, exactly what he expected from an inferior species. He never noticed the small boarding pods that detached from Carter's ship. The pods struck the Valorian flagship's hull with precise timing. Human technology might have looked primitive, but it was perfectly suited for the dirty work of war. Plasma cutters burned through crystal armor, while sonic charges disrupted the ship's internal structure. Sergeant Ross led her squad through the breach into a corridor that looked like the inside of a massive geode. Crystal formations covered every surface, and the air shimmered with harmonic frequencies that made human ears ring. "Remember, these aliens communicate through sound harmonics," Ross told her team. "Our sonic weapons should disrupt their coordination completely." The first Valorian security team that responded to the breach was composed of tall, elegant beings whose bodies rang like wind chimes when they moved. They carried energy weapons that could melt through metal, but they had never faced opponents who fought in close quarters. Ross activated her sonic charges. The devices emitted frequencies that shattered crystal formations and sent the Valorian guards into convulsions. Their harmonic communication system collapsed into discord as the sound waves disrupted their natural resonance. "Move fast," Ross ordered. "We need to reach their command center before they adapt." Meanwhile, Corporal Bennett's team had breached the ship's lower sections. The big Marine used his experience fighting in asteroid mines to navigate the alien corridors. His squad planted explosives on critical systems while alien security forces struggled to respond to this unprecedented attack. "Gravity generators located," Bennett reported. "Setting charges now." The Valorians had built their ships according to aesthetic principles rather than defensive ones. Their corridors were wide and graceful, perfect for their tall, elegant forms, but impossible to defend against determined attackers. On the Nexari flagship, a similar scene was unfolding. Captain Steve Miller's boarding party had infiltrated the biomechanical vessel, using different tactics suited to fighting living ships. The Nexari vessel was like the inside of a massive organism. Walls pulsed with circulatory systems and organic. Computers processed information through neural networks. It was beautiful in an alien way, but also vulnerable to human understanding of biology. Lieutenant Maya Johnson led her biochemical warfare team through corridors that breathed like living lungs. Her squad carried viral agents specifically designed to attack Nexari biotechnology. Deploying nanoviruses now, Johnson reported. Their organic systems should start shutting down within minutes. The Nexari had never encountered enemies who understood that living ships could be infected like any other organism. Their perfect fusion of biology and technology became a weakness when humans treated it as just another disease to cure. Supreme Commander Vorthak felt her ship begin to fail around her. Warning signals flashed through her neural interfaces as biological systems throughout the vessel started dying. At the same time, Valorian ships continued firing on her fleet. "How are the primitives aboard our ship?" she demanded from her surviving officers. "Unknown, Supreme Commander," replied her tactical officer, his biomechanical face showing confusion. "Our sensors indicate small groups of humans moving through the ship, but they appear to be using weapons that target our biological systems specifically." Back on the Valorian flagship, Sergeant Ross and her team had fought their way to the main bridge. The massive crystal chamber was filled with Valorian officers whose harmonic voices created a symphony of panic as their ship's systems failed. Fleet Admiral Thexnall turned to face the human intruders, his crystalline body blazing with angry, red light. He was 3 meters tall and beautiful in an inhuman way, but Ross had seen enough alien enemies to know that beauty meant nothing in combat. "Impossible," Thexnall rang out in perfect harmonics. "How do such primitive creatures dare to board a Valorian warship?" Ross raised her sonic weapon and smiled coldly. "Easy. We don't care how pretty your ship is." The sound pulse that erupted from her weapon turned the elegant bridge into chaos. Crystal formations shattered, harmonic communication systems failed, and Valorian officers collapsed as their internal resonance was disrupted. Throughout both alien fleets, similar scenes played out. Human boarding parties used tactics that no galactic civilization had ever encountered. They fought dirty, used improvised weapons, and targeted systems that aliens considered too important to attack. Captain Murphy watched the battle reports with grim satisfaction. "Both flagships are compromised," he announced to his bridge crew. "The aliens are learning that technology means nothing if you don't know how to defend it." But the real lesson was deeper than tactics or technology. The Valorians and Nexari had conquered dozens of species by following established patterns of galactic warfare. They expected surrender when command ships were threatened. They expected civilized behavior from their enemies. Humans followed no such patterns. When their ships were damaged, they kept fighting. When surrender was demanded, they attacked harder. When outnumbered, they used whatever weapons they could find. As both alien commanders lay unconscious on their captured bridges, their fleets began to realize they were facing something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans weren't just primitive. They were primitively effective, and that made them the most dangerous enemy either empire had ever encountered. The battle was far from over, but the aliens were finally beginning to understand what they were really fighting. Not just another species to be conquered, but a civilization that simply refused to lose. Admiral Lisa Thompson arrived in the Jupiter system aboard the battleship UHS Constitution, leading the largest human fleet ever assembled. Behind her came ships commanded by Captain Steve Miller, Captain Rachel Adams, and dozens of other officers, who had spent years preparing for this moment. The alien fleets were in chaos. Both flagships had been captured by human boarding parties, their command structures crippled by tactics no galactic civilization had ever encountered. Valorian and Nexari ships fired on each other while trying to deal with human forces that seemed to appear from nowhere. Status report, Thompson requested as her flagship took position behind Ganymede. Captain Murphy appeared on the main screen, his face showing the strain of commanding a battle against impossible odds. Both alien command ships are secured. Their fleets are scattered and confused, but we've lost 12 ships and taken heavy casualties. Acceptable losses considering what we're facing, Thompson replied. Are the prisoners talking? Dr. Kevin Wright appeared on a secondary screen from the captured Valorian flagship. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, and his glasses were cracked from the sonic weapons used in the boarding action. Admiral, you need to hear this, Wright said urgently. The aliens have revealed something crucial about galactic civilization. Thompson listened as Wright explained what the captured officers had told him. For thousands of years, warfare between galactic species had followed strict protocols designed to minimize damage to advanced technology. Species surrendered when their command ships were threatened, preserving their fleets for eventual integration or ransom. They don't understand why we keep fighting after they've demonstrated superior firepower, Wright continued. In their experience, inferior species always surrender to preserve their lives. What about when we captured their flagships? Thompson asked. That's what has them truly terrified, Wright replied. No species in galactic history has ever successfully boarded and captured enemy command vessels. They consider it impossible. Captain Miller's voice came over the communication system from the Nexari flagship. Admiral, their Supreme Commander is awake and demanding to speak with you. Thompson nodded. Put her through. The screen showed Supreme Commander Vorthak restrained in what had been her own command chair. Her biomechanical body was damaged, cables and tubes hanging loose where human weapons had disrupted her systems. But her eyes still held intelligence and fury. I am Supreme Commander Vorthak of the Nexari Collective, she said, her mechanically enhanced voice carrying undertones of pain. I demand to know why your species refuses to follow civilized protocols of warfare. Thompson studied the alien, Commander with calm interest. Commander, let me ask you a question. How many species have you conquered? The Nexari Collective has integrated 47 primitive civilizations into our empire, Vorthak replied proudly. Each submission was accomplished with minimal casualties once they understood our technological superiority. And how many of those species fought back after you demonstrated your power? Vorthak's biomechanical face showed confusion. None. Why would they continue fighting once defeat was inevitable? Thompson smiled coldly. Because, Commander, you've never encountered a species that considers death preferable to slavery. The truth hit both alien fleets like a physical blow. Throughout galactic history, conquered species had accepted integration into existing empires as the price of survival. The concept of fighting to the death rather than surrendering was literally incomprehensible to civilizations that had never faced it. Captain Murphy opened communication channels to both scattered alien fleets. His voice carried across the Jupiter system with calm authority. Attention Valorian and Nexari forces. This is Admiral Murphy of the Earth Defense Force. I want to make our position very clear. He paused, letting the silence build tension among the alien crews. We have captured both your command ships and your senior officers. Your fleets are scattered and taking casualties. According to your galactic protocols, this is the point where we should negotiate your surrender and integration into human space. Throughout both alien fleets, crews listened with growing hope. Perhaps the humans would follow civilized behavior after all. Murphy's next words shattered that hope completely. But humans don't follow your protocols. We're going to continue fighting until every one of your ships is destroyed or driven from our system. We don't want to integrate you. We don't want to rule you. We want you gone. The reaction was immediate panic among the alien crews. Species that surrendered when defeated could be reasoned with, negotiated with, eventually controlled. But species that fought to extinction were a threat to the entire galactic order. Captain Adams led a squadron of human destroyers in a devastating attack on the Valorian rearguard. Her ships used the same kinetic weapons that had proven so effective against energy shields, turning elegant crystal vessels into debris fields. Their fleet coordination is completely broken, Adams reported. They're trying to retreat, but they don't know how to conduct a fighting withdrawal. The aliens had never needed to learn tactical retreats because inferior species always surrendered before such maneuvers became necessary. Now they found themselves facing an enemy that pursued them relentlessly, giving no quarter and accepting no surrender. Dr. Wright made another crucial discovery while interrogating the captured alien officers. "Admiral, they've revealed the location of their home systems and the size of their total fleets." "How many ships do they have in reserve?" Thompson asked. "The Valorians have over 2,000 vessels. The Nexari have 1,500. But here's the critical point. None of them have ever faced sustained resistance. Their entire military doctrine is based on quick conquest, followed by integration." Thompson understood immediately. The aliens possessed overwhelming technological advantages, but they had no experience with the kind of total warfare that humans had been practicing for centuries. "They're like a boxer who's never been hit," she mused. "Technically superior, but psychologically unprepared for a real fight." The final phase of the battle began when human forces revealed the true extent of their preparation. Hidden shipyards throughout the solar system activated, launching vessels that had been under construction for decades. Defense platforms disguised as research stations dropped their camouflage and revealed massive weapon arrays. Most shocking of all, human colonies throughout the system volunteered their civilian ships for military service. Mining vessels became missile platforms. Transport ships turned into troop carriers. Even luxury liners were converted into hospital ships to care for wounded. Fleet Admiral Thexanol, now conscious but restrained aboard his captured flagship, watched in horror as the human fleet continued to grow instead of diminishing. "This is impossible," he rang out in discordant harmonics. "Your casualties should be forcing you to seek terms." Captain Murphy appeared on the alien screen, his face showing the strain of battle but also determination that Thexanol had never seen. "In any conquered species, Admiral, you made a fundamental error about human nature," Murphy said. "You assumed that because our technology looks primitive, our thinking must be primitive too." "Your weapons are inferior," Thexanol protested. "Your ships are crude. Your tactics are barbaric." "You're right," Murphy agreed. "But you forgot to consider our motivation. We're not fighting for conquest or integration or any of your civilized goals. We're fighting for the right to exist as free beings." The surviving alien ships began a desperate retreat toward the edge of the solar system. But human forces had prepared for this moment too. Long-range missile platforms hidden in the asteroid belt launched volleys of kinetic interceptors, while fast attack craft emerged from concealment to harass the fleeing vessels. By the time the battle ended, both alien fleets had been reduced to less than half their original strength. The survivors limped back toward their home territories, carrying word of humanity's resistance to the Galactic Council. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the last alien ships disappear into hyperspace. Around her, damage reports came in from across the human fleet. They had paid a heavy price for victory, but they had proven something that would reshape galactic civilization. Dr. Wright appeared on her screen one final time, his face showing exhaustion, but also excitement. "Admiral, the captured aliens have agreed to serve as ambassadors. They want to warn the Galactic Council about what happens when you underestimate human determination." Thompson nodded slowly. "Good. Let them spread the word. Humanity is no longer a primitive species to be conquered and integrated. We're a force that will fight for our freedom regardless of the odds." 6 months later, Ambassador Kevin Wright stood before the Galactic Council in the same crystal chamber where humanity's fate had been so casually decided. Behind him, holographic displays showed the wreckage of 2 alien armadas floating in Earth's solar system. The council members who had voted to partition human space now sat in stunned silence as Wright delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. "The age of conquest based on technological superiority is over," Wright announced. "From now on, any species that threatens human freedom will learn what we taught the Valorians and Nexari. We may be primitive by